This is an issue that you know is near and dear to all of our hearts here at the firm, and that is just the number of drunk driving, not just arrests and prosecutions, but the number of drunk driving crashes that are injuring people or killing them.
And listen, we're getting into the holiday season, right?
Yeah.
People are going to parties, people are out drinking, and so, it pains me to say it, the number's just going to grow.
The rest of the family's at home, and all of a sudden, without any warning, what happens?
Madison Williams blows through the stop sign and drives right into that brick and mortar house. Her car wound up inside their home.
And the community's angry because of the sentence.
Well, I think the community's angry because she's a wretched person.
Did you say wretched or ratchet?
Wretched.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because ratchet, I think, is
disgusting.
I think we're too old for using the phrase ratchet.
Probably bigoted would be a good description.
I think she described it best herself. I think she told on herself at the end, I literally am the most spoiled brat that you've ever met in your life.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kern Case by Case. This is a Cohn Clark podcast. What we're going to do, this is episode 1, hopefully of many. The purpose of this is to get some insight about the issues impacting all of us in the community. Just like all of you listening, all the lawyers at our law firm, we live, we eat, we breathe in Bakersfield, California. And the same issues that are impacting you impact us. And so we want to share our insights, and we hope to do that over the course of many, many episodes. This is only the first. Chris.
Matt.
Inaugural episode of Kern Case by Case.
Yeah, looking forward to it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so. Look, we sat down earlier this year and we said, you know what? We have all these fun conversations around the office. We're constantly talking about issues that we think are interesting to the community and things that the community needs to hear about. Things about local legal cases, of course, but also cases on the national level, and maybe just other things that are impacting our community as a whole.
Newsworthy events, things people might be interested from a legal perspective.
Yeah, sure. And so we said, we should do a podcast. And in fact, we've been doing more on social media in the last couple of years. We have a great social media team that's helping us with that. And some of the comments I've gotten were shocking to me. And here's why, okay? I'm getting comments like, hey, we saw your piece. It's only 60 seconds long, and we want to hear more about it, right? It's got to be the only time ever that someone wants to hear a lawyer talk more. And so because of that, here we are. And we're going to do a podcast. We're going to try to do this once a month.
We're going to try to do it once a month. There's certainly enough to talk about in our community.
100%, and keep it interesting. I think that from time to time, we're going to try to bring in a guest and allow a guest to educate us and anyone that's listening to the issues in our community. I think it's important to point out, look, we're a personal injury law firm in Bakersfield, California. The firm is Cohn Clark, of course. It's a law firm that's been around proudly since 1934. So we're 91 years old now. And our roots run deep in this community, right?
Very, very deep.
A lot of us are from Bakersfield born and bred. Those of us that aren't Bakersfield born and bred have lived majorities of our lives here. It's a community that is dear to all of us. It's our homes. And I think one of the points of this is, it's a good place to live, but it can always be better.
I think we've got a lot to work on. It's like, listen, I've been here for over 20 years now. I've raised a family here. It's a great place to raise a family, but we can do better.
Yeah, and I think that's true of a lot of communities. I don't think we're unique in that respect, but I do think we have some unique problems. And so we're going to take time to talk about those problems here on Kern Case by Case.
All right. Wait, before we do that, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks watching this?
Oh, you mean to do that?
Yeah, tell them a little bit about you.
All right. So, of course, my name is Matt Clark. I've been a lawyer in Bakersfield. Gosh, next year is my 25th year of practice, which seems a lot longer. It's gone by so quickly, right? And I know it's cliche to say it, but as you get older, the years just suddenly kind of go by. They just fly by. And so 25 years in practice next year. That entire time I've done nothing but represent victims in auto accident cases and in other types of personal injury cases. Anything from a complex. You and I tried a case earlier this year, right?
We did.
In federal court, a very complicated products liability case, and that was a case. How many years did we work on that case?
Gosh, about 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years in the making, and so everything from a complex products liability case all the way to auto accident cases, and basically everything in between. And that's what I've done for 25 years. I'm proud to say that I can look my clients in the eyes and know that I and everyone here at our firm have done everything we can do to help each one of our clients. And I think what's unique about Bakersfield is I see my clients all the time.
I think we saw one out at lunch yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, not only current clients, but past clients. And so what's really important to me is being able to hold my head up high and know I did the best I could for each and every person that I've represented, and know that they're going to see me in the future.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's me.
All right. Chris Hagan, I have been a lawyer here in town since 2003. My wife and I moved here right out of law school. So I actually started my practice, and you obviously know this, as a civil defense lawyer. So
you and I were against each
yeah,
other.
We were against each other for
years.
many years. So I tried, auto cases, public entity liability cases, did a lot of work for school districts, commercial liability, trucking cases, ag
City
injury
work.
cases, city work, oil field injuries. And so, 3.5 years or so ago, I decided to make a major career change.
As we like to say, you took off the black hat and put on the white hat. You're now the good guy in the Western, and we love having you here. I think it's interesting how a lot of people don't know this. I think a lot of people think that when you've got a lawyer against you, you're supposed to hate that person on the other side.
Right.
And although that happens, okay,
well, because some of them are hateable,
right.
they don't do themselves any favors.
There have definitely been people on the other side of me that I would rather not share a beer with at some point in time, or a cup of coffee or whatever it may be. But that is, I think, rare, right? I think that generally speaking, plaintiff's counsel, defense counsel, although you may totally disagree on specific issues related to a case, there isn't a degree of hatred between most of us. And so I just think it's interesting how, here you and I were against each other for the majority of my career.
Almost 20 years.
And now, here we are together working cases together, and I think doing a great job for clients, a la that case we tried in federal court in January.
Yeah, little nugget for the people watching this. Matt and I were law school classmates, although we were separated by a couple of years, but didn't know each other in law school and didn't kind of meet each other until I moved to Bakersfield in 2003.
I think you started at McGeorge when I was a third year. So
I think
you
that's
were
right.
a first year, I was a third year. For those people that have not gone to law school, right? Once you're a third year, you kind of got one foot out the door.
Oh, you're just skating at that point in time. As a first year, you're just concerned, am I going to make it through this?
Right. First year of law school, they will tell you when you sit down in class, look to your left, look to your right. One of those people won't be there. At McGeorge, there's a pretty good chance neither of those people are going to be there. Like, they are weeding out as many people as they can by making that first year as difficult as
Very
they
tough school.
can.
That was an incredibly tough school.
Which is why their bar passage rate is so high.
Exactly right.
Traditionally very high bar passage rate because it's such a difficult school to get through and get to your third year where you're going to ultimately take the bar.
Okay, what are we here to talk about today?
So this is an issue that is near and dear to all of our hearts here at the firm. It's an issue that's really an epidemic in our community. It's a terrible scar on our community, and it's something that we should all be embarrassed about. And that is just the number of drunk driving, not just arrests and prosecutions, but the number of drunk driving crashes that are injuring people or killing them.
Right.
And it's a problem that our firm has really been involved with. We've been a partner with Mothers Against Drunk Driving for over 20 years. It's something that we take very seriously here, and something that's near and dear to all of our hearts. And so there have been a couple cases recently that I think have really upset people in our community. And so we want to take just a moment, talk about those cases, maybe highlight a few of the issues in those cases, and see if we can't. I'm not sure we're going to make people feel any better, because I think people are angry, but at least explain how the system works and how we got here. Okay.
Right.
First one.
Madison Williams.
Yeah. It was in the news. It was in the news a lot last week, right? So we're now a few days, about a week before Christmas.
Right.
This would have been in the earlier part of December. So let's back up, okay? I think it's important for people to know that the victims in this case, we represented them.
We did.
Okay.
A family.
So we represented a family, a very nice group of people. Their last name is the Joshans. Just a fantastic family. This family lived in a brick and mortar house, which I think is important.
Right.
We'll get to that in a moment. A brick and mortar house, sort of southwest Bakersfield. They live literally right on the corner of where Bakersfield then ends and the county begins.
And right next to the business that they owned.
Correct. And this is there. If for those people that know the area, it's Taft Highway and Old River Road.
Right.
They're minding their own business.
Minding their own business. They were asleep in their home at midnight.
I guess it's as minding your own business as you can
listen,
be.
This family is comfortably resting like in their own home, in their safe space, right? Where do you feel most space or where do you feel the safest as a person? In your own house. That's where you're most comfortable.
When you're sleeping at night.
Exactly.
They've got, a 21-month-old son there.
Right.
The rest of the family's at home. And all of a sudden, without any warning, what happens?
Madison Williams blows through the stop sign and drives right into that brick and mortar house. Her car wound up inside their home.
So I think it's important for people to understand just how significant this event was. Okay, the corner of Old River Road and Taft Highway, it would be the northeast corner of that intersection.
Right, that's right.
There's a vacant lot.
Yep.
Okay, nothing in it. Wide open space. All right. Then there is a concrete curb. Then there is a power pole. Then you get to the steps leading up to this home. And I think that's an important fact because this wasn't like a typical Bakersfield Ranch style house where it's on a cement foundation and it's low to the ground. This was an elevated home. It literally had steps you had to walk up to get into it. And it was literally made of brick and mortar. Okay. She blew that stop sign. She was traveling northbound on Old River Road and blew that stop sign at such a speed that she not only drove completely through the vacant lot, she drove through the concrete curbing.
And the telephone pole.
Wiped out a telephone pole, drove up the stairs into a brick and mortar home. And as a result of that, what happened to the family?
Well, 3 of them were injured. All 3 of them were injured, and particularly the 21-month-old. And I mean, listen, I was at the sentencing. We all watched it here in the office, and it was really difficult to hear Prince, the dad, get up there and explain to the judge how this event and these injuries have impacted his family, particularly his wife, who's pregnant again, but even more so their son. And
he's still having problems.
And the issues that the son now has as a result of the injuries that Madison caused.
Yeah, we're not talking about trivial injuries here. We're talking about lifelong impairment.
Right.
And so the family came and they hired us.
They did.
Okay. Now, a lot of people confuse these issues about the difference between a criminal case and a civil case. And so I think it's important that we explain. We're civil lawyers, okay? We are not criminal lawyers. We're civil attorneys. What does that mean? What can we do for folks?
The only thing, and we have this conversation with clients, the only thing we can do for clients is recover money for them. That's it. We can't convict people of crimes. We can't commit people to jail. Instituting change, well, that can happen through our profession, right? But if you try a case of the jury, the only change the jury is going to effectuate is a change of money in hands, and that's it. And that's all we can do for people. Yeah.
And so family came to hire us. I remember I went out and met with them. In fact, I went to Madera because
they were at the Valley Children's Hospital.
At the time they reached out to us, they were, their son was admitted to Valley Children's Hospital. And so I went out and met with them there. And as you can imagine, they were devastated. I mean, we've represented countless people that have been injured at this point. The one thing I can say for most of them is, at least when they get to go home from the hospital, they have a home to go to.
Yeah.
This poor family didn't even have a home to go to.
Well, the home caught on fire, right?
It was
We forgot to
condemned.
talk about that. The county condemned it. The county made them tear it down,
Yep.
and they had to pay for it.
Yeah. The county ultimately made them tear it down and sent them a bill for, a drunk lady driving through their house.
Yeah, right.
And I can say drunk lady because she's now been convicted of that crime. We'll
Right.
get to that in a second. But they hire us to represent them in the civil case. We file a lawsuit against Madison Williams, and off to the races we go. Okay. And the reality in a lot of these cases is that there are limits as to what we can do. Okay. In this instance, she had a policy of insurance that was only $300,000, right? And so we, in a normal case, if you have somebody that has no assets on the other side, meaning if Williams didn't have any assets in the case, you're likely stuck with that.
But Matt, I mean, she owns like half of Bakersfield.
Well,
at least that's what she said, right?
We're going to get
Well,
to that.
I know.
I can confirm for anybody listening to this that she does not own half of Bakersfield.
She does not.
We looked up everything she did own as
Right.
part of our case. And so anyway, long story short, we litigate the case. Of course, our insurance company immediately offers up the $300,000. That's nowhere enough money. We're angry. Our clients are angry. Something needs to be done. And so we pursued personal assets.
Right.
Okay. And we were all ultimately able to effectuate a resolution for this family where not only where they paid the insurance money, obviously, but over time, they're paid personal assets.
Right.
Okay. And we would all look, I want to make it very, very clear. There was no way enough, despite her statement to an officer that she owns half of Bakersfield, which is not true, by the way. There was no way that she had enough in terms of assets to cover this family's losses, right? I mean, not even close.
Not even close.
And so we finish our case, finished it well before the criminal case ever went to trial, right? She had criminal defense counsel, private counsel.
Right.
The case got seemingly delayed over and over and over,
Always does.
over and over again, which I know is frustrating for our clients who are victims in DUI crashes. And so finally, it was in the fall of this year, her criminal case goes to trial. She never accepted a plea deal. She went full bore to trial, sitting in the courtroom, tried by a jury of her peers. What happened?
Guilty verdict. All counts, felony conviction, felony DUI. So it's the conviction of driving over the legal limit, 0.08 in California, but then the felony was the causing of the great bodily injury to our clients,
Yep,
right?
GBI.
There were three of them.
Yep.
There were three victims.
Now, here's where the case gets interesting, okay? In the roughly 60 days before she crashed into our client's home, where she's ultimately convicted of DUI, she had a prior DUI.
Prior DUI, but prior DUI arrest, right? That's important. We should talk about that.
Yep.
And why is that important? Because there's no conviction.
Correct.
Right. And so, we pay attention to social media. We saw a lot of the comments after the conviction and then the sentencing.
Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And a lot of people were really upset about the fact that she had this prior DUI. But I think what people don't realize is it was only an arrest and she hadn't been and still hasn't been convicted of it yet.
Yeah. And so I just want to take a moment because this is a question I have. I'd love for listeners to chime in. Maybe somebody in the know will chime in. But if it were me prosecuting this case, okay.
I'm laughing because I know exactly where we've talked about this.
I would have gotten the conviction on the first DUI. And we're
Right.
going to talk about some of the salacious things she said under that when she was arrested on that first one. But I would have prosecuted the first one, even if it ended up being a misdemeanor, just so I've got the prior conviction before I try the second DUI where you've got the great bodily injury and obviously the felony counts. And so I'm not quite sure why it ended up the way it ended up, and she was tried on the second case first, meaning that there was no conviction on the first one. So these, her arguably bad behavior under the first one, or her alleged bad behavior, doesn't come into evidence. It's not something that the court considers.
Well, it's not even an evidentiary issue only, right? And we'll talk about this if we keep on getting ahead of ourselves, but sentencing.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time of sentencing, we'll talk about this, the court can consider prior convictions. Well, there was no prior conviction for the court to consider here.
So in that first arrest, okay, she's pulled over in June of 2022, and at the time, an officer administers a field sobriety test. She's what I think I read it here, 0.19. Okay, so over twice the legal limit. And then this officer's body worn camera. Okay, so I think people know this nowadays that all law enforcement officers wear a body worn camera, and it's capturing everything.
It is,
right. In other words, be a little careful what you say. Okay, like this lady said literally everything you could do wrong in an arrest. This lady did it. Okay, I mean, she said things like, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Number one, I'm white, so let's just stop. I mean, unbelievable. Okay. Followed that up with an offer to the officer of $15,000 to let him go. Right.
But then offered, like, what was it, a bracelet worth $600?
Yeah, or something like that. Said I'm really good friends with all the judges. Told the officer as he's trying to draw blood at her booking. Now you're just trying to have a power trip. That's ridiculous. Followed that up with, again, that's all right. Thank God I'm white. She said, I want to get it right. That's all right. Thank God I'm white. That's hilarious. Okay. This is where she told the officer she owned half of Bakersfield.
She's friends with all of the lawyers in town.
Yeah.
What did she say? I literally am the most spoiled brat that you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah. Ask, how do I get out of this? And then, as the conversation goes on, it's a 47-page transcript of her talking to this officer. We all have a constitutional right to remain silent.
You should exercise it in that instance, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Tells the officer that she will, quote, pay for your job. I make way more than essentially you do. I donate thousands of dollars. You are so much better than that. Why would you want to do that? Do you just don't give a shit? This, whatever. You're a boomer.
Listen, give Officer Singh credit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he held his composure the entire time. And at the point in time where she offers him the $15,000, he says, you're going to need that for your criminal defense lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's 100% right. And by the way, again, we looked into it. She didn't have $15,000 to give him.
Yeah, no, she didn't. And so she says all these crazy things. This is in the first DUI arrest, which she had not been convicted for. In fact, she's still pending trial on this offense. But the second DUI, the one that involves the Joshan family, when she drove into the house, that goes to trial. She's convicted. And now we get to the part where I think the community's angry, right? And the community's angry because of the sentence.
Well, I think the community's angry because she's a wretched person. Number one, and the things she said.
Yeah.
First of all, but I think they're also upset at the sentencing. Clearly, we saw that online. We saw it in the comments.
Did you say wretched or ratchet?
Wretched.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because ratchet, I think, is
disgusting.
I think we're too old for using the phrase ratchet.
Probably bigoted would be a good description. I probably can't say that.
I think she described it best herself. I think she told on herself at the end, I literally am the most spoiled brat that you've ever met in your life.
Yeah.
She's right on that account.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, case goes to trial. Now, a lot of people get confused here. All right. She's convicted. A jury decides on the conviction.
Right.
Who decides the sentence?
Yeah, the judge decides the sentence. So the jury has zero input on the sentence. Okay.
Right.
Other than the finding of guilt, it's the judge that considers a number of factors. We'll talk about them for purposes of the sentencing.
And oftentimes those are factors. There's a recommendation from probation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In this case, that recommendation was she should do 16 years. That's the max sentence. Right.
I don't remember what the recommendation from probation was. I know there was an initial recommendation, right? And then the judge said, well, listen, under California law, as pointed out by her defense lawyer, and he was right, she is eligible for felony probation. And the initial report by probation didn't take that into consideration. So the judge under the law needed to know what that would look like if that would be her sentence.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I think the right way to put it is the maximum sentence that she could be subjected to is 16 years under the law.
And that's what the DA's office asked for.
Okay. And ultimately, What did the judge sentence her to?
So she got 7 years of felony probation.
Which
And-
means what? What does that mean, practically speaking?
Well, hold on. She's got to serve a year in jail.
Okay.
She's going to get credit for 90 or so days served. So that'll get knocked off of the year. And then she's on felony probation for 7 years.
Well,
So
hold on a second. There's no way she's going to do the full year either.
I don't think she's going to do the full year. They're going to cut her. She'll probably do a total of 6 months if I had to guess.
Yeah. I mean, by
right?
the time this podcast airs, she could technically be out,
She could be.
right? I mean, it depends on overcrowding issues and other things going on in the system, but she could be out basically at any time.
Yeah, listen, in the 7 years of felony probation, I mean, that's a slap on the wrist. So we can go through some of the specifics about her probation, but it's basically stay out of trouble for 7 years. Don't commit any crimes for 7 years. Don't drive under the influence for 7 years.
You mean act like just a normal person?
Yeah, just like a
normal, decent person.
a responsible human, not a wretched woman.
Given what she did, I'm not sure she's going to be able to do that for 7 years. Given the fact that she was arrested twice for DUI in 60 days, suggests to me that this is probably somebody that we'll end up seeing in the news again. I hope not.
Listen,
I hope not.
History is an indication of the future, and recidivism rates are shown to be high.
Especially for DUI offenses.
I hope that we don't see her again in the news because she's hurt or killed somebody else.
Yeah, I mean,
but statistically speaking, I think we're going to be there.
The other thing that worries me is there was zero showing of remorse that I saw. I mean, period. Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I drove into a house, forget the drunk driving component of it. If I just, missed the brake and hit the gas, for example, and drove into a house and severely injured a 21-month-old baby, I couldn't live with myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to.
So I don't understand the lack of remorse. That was displayed throughout the trial, really throughout the history of the case.
It was displayed during our handling of the case.
Yeah.
I mean, she really didn't think that she had done anything wrong.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, told her lawyers that many, many times. We went to a mediation in our case at one point. Let's just say that there was zero showing of remorse, zero accountability, which, I mean, if we look at recidivism rates, if you don't think you did anything wrong, you're likely to do the same thing again.
That's exactly right.
Okay, let's, we have, as a firm, focused on this issue of DUIs for a very long time. This year, it's a particularly bad year in Bakersfield. 1,853 arrests.
But that's only through November, right?
Correct.
And so we're in the middle of December now. We don't have all of the stats. So there's the number's higher.
1,853 arrests. That's between BPD and CHP. Of those, 688 688 are BPD, which is a 50% increase just over last year alone.
Right.
Okay. That's a terrible statistic. 408 DUI-related crashes in Kern County just through November. And of course, and this number is only Bakersfield, 24 fatalities through November.
Yeah. And listen, we're getting into the holiday season, right?
Yeah.
People are going to parties. People are out drinking. And so, it pains me to say it, the number's just going to grow.
The amount of resources that are put into prosecuting DUI crimes in our community has got to be at a record high. We have, by some good reporting that we've seen, there are currently 1,600 misdemeanor DUI cases pending at the district attorney's office,
and 70 felony DUI cases pending.
Yeah, I mean that's a tremendous backlog. It'll take probably years, literally, to get all those cases.
Listen, it's a huge number in a DA's office that's short-staffed, right?
So earlier this year, I think our community knows that there was a terrible DUI. All DUI crashes are terrible, but this one was particularly bad. This was a case that I think we're all familiar with. A group of folks, 3 of them, went out on a celebratory night, did the right thing. They called a Lyft for a ride home. As they were being taken home, they were at the intersection of Gosford and Stockdale. I drive through that intersection literally twice a day, every day. And they were hit by a drunk driver. 2 people in that vehicle were killed, a very young couple, recently married.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another passenger in the vehicle that suffered severe injuries, and the driver of that vehicle, the Lyft driver,
The Lyft driver, right?
also suffered severe injuries. Again, in full disclosure, our firm was hired. We represent one of the passengers, the passenger that was severely injured. The two folks that died, that's Max and Desiree Mooney. The outpouring in this community for those folks has been tremendous. People are really upset. Okay. And we were really upset because it was, we've been going on radio shows and TV shows for years talking about how do the right thing, get in a Lyft, get in an Uber, take a taxi cab, use DDI, have a designated driver. And these folks were doing the right thing.
Yeah, you say, I feel like, we get interviewed by local news all the time when these DUI issues come up. And I feel like it's every other week, right? And my comment typically when I meet to them is I say, I feel like this is Groundhog's Day. I feel like I just did this interview.
Yeah. No, exactly. I start to think I sound like a broken record.
Yeah.
Because I just end up saying the same things over and over again. But we were angry. The community was angry. We talked to our friends at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who we are very close to, and we said, look, we're going to do something as a law firm. And so we started a petition. That petition is on change.org. You can just Google Kern County DUI petition. It'll come up.
They can get it on our website too at chainlaw.com.
That's correct. And our goal is to get 10,000 signatures. We are very, very close. We are within, I would say, spitting distance at this point of 10,000 signatures. The last I checked, we're almost at 9,000. And so,
though, here's the thing for me, right? I mean, we started out by talking about how big of a problem this is in our community. It's a nationwide problem. I mean, we haven't even hit 10,000 signatures yet, which is disappointing, right? I mean, listen, when you meet with people and you talk to the families and you talk to your friends and you realize how many people out there have been impacted by DUI-related drivers, DUI accidents, DUI fatalities, and at this point in time, there's less than 10,000 signatures.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Max and Desiree Mooney killed earlier this year. You've got Asmaret Mayal, also clients of ours,
right?
A 6-year-old, by all accounts, just absolutely fantastic little girl, killed by a drunk driver early in the morning. Early in the morning, her mom had gone to a bakery to get him some treats early on a weekend morning, and she's killed. You have Xavier Hernandez, right? 8-year-old boy at a taco stand.
Yeah, he's with his dad getting something to eat.
In the middle of the day,
right?
Killed by an alleged drunk driver. I mean, it just seems like over and over and over again this is happening. So we started a petition. Like I said, the goal was 10,000 signatures. We're very close. Once we get to those 10,000 signatures, we're going to go to our local statewide representatives and push for change and what we think needs to be changed. And this relates back to the Madison Williams
That's what
case,
we're here to talk about.
The sentencing guidelines for drunk driving offenses needs to be changed because clearly, those people out there committing the offense, those people that are out there driving impaired, they don't see the penalty as enough to deter their behavior. Okay. So that's one reason. The other reason is people are pissed. People are angry, right? The fact that you can be on your second DUI in 60 days and drive through the front door of somebody's home and severely injure their 21-month-old baby and really only get a slap on the wrist and 7 years of probation is
Absolutely.
and people are angry about it. And they should be angry about it. And it needs to change. And so we started that petition. It is, boy, if I can get to those 10,000 signatures before the end of the year, I'd love to start the new year by bothering our local statewide reps, and I will bug them and see if we can't do something about the problem.
Listen, we've talked about it. We have this conversation almost every week. The penalties that are out there for first-time DUI offenders and even second-time DUI offenders, they're just not strict enough. It's not deterring the problem. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole point of the criminal justice system and putting people in jail and having penalties for certain crimes is to deter behavior. Okay, that's really what it's about, right? It's about deterring bad behavior. And without question, at least as far as Kern County and Bakersfield, California is concerned, if you look at the DUI numbers in this community, the current laws on the books, the current sentencing guidelines are not enough to deter this behavior.
Listen, 7 years probation and a year in jail when you're going to probably get out in 6, and having to pay some fines and restitution is not enough of a deterrent after you've just injured 3 people and you've driven into their house, which burned to the ground.
But how about after you just got another DUI, right? Like
Right.
you didn't learn your lesson the
Right.
first time, just a couple months earlier.
Well, here's something else, okay? I want to talk about this, right? The Watson admonition.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see this, right? We see DUI fatalities. The community's upset. Why aren't they being charged with
Well, hold
murder?
on. To explain what the Watson admonition is.
Okay, so at the time somebody's convicted of their first DUI, right? And at the time of their sentencing, the
It's
judge,
actually at the time of the arrest.
I guess it is at the time of the arrest now, the officer, but they do it at the time of sentencing too,
Correct.
will tell the person, if you drive under the influence, you may kill somebody. And if you do, you may be charged with,
Murder too.
right,
Okay.
right.
Which is a big deal because the sentence is much stricter or much more severe, I should say, if you're convicted of murder too over just vehicular manslaughter.
Right. So my point is, why are we waiting until their first arrest for DUI or their first conviction? I mean, everybody that has a license, not everybody does. And when they go to DMV to take the test, why isn't there something in the paperwork that they sign that they're required to initial and acknowledge at that time?
Yeah. So as lawyers, I think that we understand the issue of look, there's a difference between murder and manslaughter.
Sure.
There's a difference in intent. Okay. One crime usually carries with it the mens rea, as we would say in law school, of intent. That's, I think, a subject for another day. But in its most simplistic sense, right? The fact that you have to be told that drinking and driving could kill somebody
It's just absurd.
is absurd.
It
And
is.
I think the general public looks at it as this is absurd. This is one of those things in the law that really needs to be rectified, I think is the right word. We're not going to get that done today. That's
No,
a
we won't.
complicated issue. But what we can do today is encourage people to go online. There'll be a link, sign the petition. We want to get it before those people up in Sacramento who actually have the capability
Yeah.
of changing sentencing guidelines.
Yeah, listen, those of you out there who watch this who are angry at what happened in Madison Williams' case, right? There were hundreds, if not thousands, of online posts about it. Listen, take that time rather than posting online and expressing your frustration. Get online and sign the petition. If you want change, that's the way to effectuate it.
I think that is a perfect way to wrap up our first podcast. Kern Case by Case, episode 1 in the can. I'd hope that people would like and subscribe to future shows. You want me to look over there? I can do that. I'm getting direction now. Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Kern Case by Case. Please like and subscribe. I think there's going to be a lot of information that we can provide to the community in the course of these podcasts. Let us know, too, in the comments if there's some issue in Kern County. Could be a law and safety issue, could be just something going on in our community that you'd like to hear us talk about in the future. We'll be happy to include it in an episode.